Government sources in Washington say that President Kennedy is dead. He was shot at approximately 12:35 this afternoon in Dallas, Texas. The gentleman on my left and on your right is Bert Shipp, who is in charge of the photographers in our newsroom. And Bert, you have some film. Just a minute. Bobby, is the film ready to roll yet? Hello. No, they're queuing up the film now that Bert took at Parkland Hospital, as I understand it.
Jay, it's going to start out of some brief scenes at the Market Hall, or at Trade Mart, where the president was due to arrive. It's about probably a mile from the scene of the downtown shooting. And, of course, we had no word at Market Hall as to what went on downtown.
Roll the film.
And it was a complete mystery. The police didn't even know. But we knew, as you'll see about halfway through the film, the police went on past the Market Hall area, or Trade Mart rather, and on it to Parkland Hospital.
Bob, whenever you're ready, go ahead and roll and let's see what we got. Excuse me. No.
Oh, this is a shot. There we go. Here's Market. There's Market Hall. Trade Mart is right across the street from there. They had a big welcome sign for the president there at the corner of Industrial and Stemmons. It says, "Welcome, Jackie." And
now, this was the place where the president was supposed to make his speech.
Here's some a gentleman carrying signs. I guess you'd call them gentlemen. They had these signs. They wasn't causing any trouble. They were run off moments after this, told that there was private property and they couldn't be around there. And they wouldn't talk to us other than they said their signs spoke for themselves. There's some of the crowd, 450 extra policemen called on duty. Everybody waited anxiously and waited and waited and waited. There's a policeman ushering a fellow by the name of Joyner from Grand Prairie back across the street. The boys had their mouths taped up so they wouldn't be able to answer any questions. Now there goes the president on up the hill there. He's been, this is after we found out there was something wrong. And
speeding past.
Yeah, and here's the disappointed crowd left there at the Trade Mart. I went up on the roadway there to ask some policemen. Here we go to the hospital. There's homicide detectives in front of us. There's Parkland Hospital. There's the entrance. Police cars all over the place. There is Congressman Wright. He's teary-eyed, as you could imagine. And there's the presidential limousine. The Secret Service men shaking it over. There's
Wright again.
Wright and Yarborough. There's the Secret Service man is taking its type of a mattress or something out of the back of the car there. And there's Chief Curry. He just couldn't believe it. He had put everything he had into this visit and gave the men all types of instruction. There's inside of a car. I don't know whether that must have been Conley's car. There's some more shots of everybody waiting expectantly. At this time, no one knew anything. Then there goes Ms. Lincoln, the president's press secretary, inside. And there's Yarborough again, Senator Yarborough, and he says the sight was too gruesome to describe. And there's a final parting shot from Parkland.
The entire building where the sniper was located was evacuated. If we could get a picture of our map here and show somewhere of the building, it's a Texas school book depository, which means exactly what it says.
This is the car where the president was. This is what we call our triple underpass in Dallas. This is the grassy area and it was originally thought that the shots came from in here. And now it's believed that the shots came from this building here. We have a film now, and by the way, we have one of the men, someone, and I should say someone, has been arrested in one of the downtown theaters. They don't know if it was the man who shot the policeman or the person who actually shot President Kennedy and Governor Connally. It's in our process. It's being processed now. We'll have that just as soon as possible. Right now, we have an interview with an investigating officer, so let's roll that film, please.
Oh, no. And you saw a man up there? That's where the guy was.
here.
Open my mic. This is the, of course you realize that the film is unedited, and this is one of the parts of the film without the sound on it. This film was made in one of the investigators' offices here in Dallas, and we will have the interview in just a few moments. I'd like to repeat that we will have some videotape later in the day of the president's arrival at Love Field in Dallas at approximately 11:35 this morning, and 1 hour later the president was shot.
This is film in Sheriff Bill Decker's office.
Sheriff of Dallas County. The city of Dallas, well, I know...
Sound.
Yeah, can I have your name
J.H. Sawyer,
and your position?
Inspector, please.
What is the story here now? This is apparently the building that the assassin shot from.
This is a building that the witnesses said they had seen a man up there, and some with a rifle. And also we found some empty rifle shells on the 5th floor.
So he would have been directly above us.
It was directly above us. Indications were that he had been there for some time.
Well, has the police department taken any precautions against such an incident?
We thought we had taken all of the precautions that were necessary. But this particular building was not covered because there were a lot of other buildings.
So as it stands now, there is a suspect. There were witnesses.
There are witnesses who saw the man.
What did they see as far as the president and the governor?
Well, several of the witnesses saw him slump over.
The president?
Yes.
And the governor?
And the governor, yes.
You also understand a Secret Service man was in.
This I do not know. I haven't received that information.
How many policemen are there in the city of Dallas?
We have approximately 1,300.
I would assume they're all out right now.
Go ahead.
Yes, bulletin here. Police have arrested a white man in the Riverside section of Fort Worth in connection with the shooting of a Dallas policeman. The man has denied any connection with the assassination of President Kennedy.
Jay Watson and Bob Walker at Wfaa-Tv in Dallas. We have some late film. Also, we understand that Vice President Lyndon Johnson will be sworn in Dallas. Our video cruiser is on the way. We'll try to have that tape for you later, or at least we will have film coverage of that as soon as possible. Let's roll the film now, Bob, and see what it has.
All right, this is some of the motorcade as it ended its drive just minutes before it rounded the turn at which the president was shot and killed. Some of the people on the streets.
And I, just about a minute, I'd say 45 seconds before the president was shot, I was standing right in here and gave the president the applaud. He turned the corner.
There's the president and Mrs. Kennedy just minutes before he was shot.
Mr. Haggerty explained, too, that that dome was not on, as you can see there.
Now we're getting down.
Right here is where it took place. Just as you saw...
Now, here is the spot where the president was killed. This is the building which the shot was fired. In a minute, you'll see a policeman or someone crawling in the... Where's the window where the shot was fired from? Now you see policemen with guns, suspecting perhaps the man was still in the building.
Bobby, come back to the man.
Bits of chicken, food particles were found in the building, indicating he had been there for some time. The weapon has been found. I do not have the exact make of it. They found it on the 6th floor of this building. I've just learned that. A German Mauser, I believe, is what it was.
That's out in front of the Depository, Texas School.
Right, this is just minutes after the president was shot.
If you remember the picture there where the president turned left in the long shot, it was there that it happened.
Dallas County Sheriff Bill Decker. Policemen with the guns, trained. Have no idea at all what who these people may be. Evidently they're clearing the area is all I can say. President John F. Kennedy has now been dead an hour and 49 minutes.
This is a scene where President Kennedy was shot this afternoon, Dallas, Texas, picking up one of the
just suspects by the droves, of course, have been pulled off the streets.
Now, the picture you see now is tracing the route of President Kennedy up 11th Avenue on Turtle Creek. Now we're coming into the main part of Dallas. There's City Hall. He turns left, right on Houston Street, and right there is where the president was shot. The films that you have just
The trade
seen.
marked up the top of the picture is where he was set to give an address at 1 o'clock, incidentally, the minute he expired.
This is Dallas, Texas. The gentleman here again is Ron Ryland, one of our cameramen that we have some exclusive film to show you once again. Let's roll the film and we'll narrate it as we go. Ron, these are the police cars pulling into the area.
Right. Once the report went out that this man was holed up in Oak Cliff, we all went out in the motorcade. This is the first building that he was reported in. It's an old junk shop of one kind or another. This is the jacket that the man was wearing. He discarded it as he ran down the street. An eyewitness here said that he had seen the man go into the building, and this is the rear of it. The officers converged on it once again.
Let's make a point here now. This is the film. It is a suspect.
This is a suspect, right. Yes. They saw this man running in and out that answered the description of the original man. No, this is an eyewitness, Jay. The man that is being interrogated here said he saw the man run down the street. Of course, everywhere we went, the crowds converged and hampered operations quite a bit. This is the scene where the police officer was shot. The car that you see in the background there belonged to the police officer, and this woman said that she had seen a man answering the description of the man that was later captured run up, stop the officer, and then shoot him. About that time, another report came in that there was a man had walked into the Texas Theater further down the block with a shotgun over his arm. Of course, everybody broke and ran down into the area at the time. This gun that you see in the background here in this officer's hand is the one that allegedly was used to shoot the police officer. This is the officer's billfold that was found lying on the ground right alongside of the car. The crime investigators here are fingerprinting the car in hopes that they could possibly lift a print to use. Now we're inside of the Texas Theater. Of course, everything is black. The movie is going on. Police suddenly jumped this man and started to drag him out of the theater, hustled him out to the car as the crowd broke and started to maul the police officers and grab this man, trying to run with him. They shouted murder and just almost anything to try and get at this man. As you see here, the officers hustled him into the car and ran away just as fast as they could from this Texas Theater in hopes of protecting this man, and they have taken him off to an unknown spot. We don't know where they're holding him for the interrogation. Once again, these are exclusive films. We were the only photographers at the scene, Mr. Watson.
The name of the officer slain was J.D. Tipton. This information, Police Captain Pat Ganaway today said a suspect held in the assassination, the picture you just saw here, was an employee of the building where a rifle was found. Ganaway also said the suspect had visited Russia and was married to a Russian. This is not immediately confirmed. The suspect's citizenship is not known. Ganaway said the suspect was the same man who shot and killed a city policeman in the Oak Cliff section of the city. And if so, those are the pictures we just saw, correct?
We sure hope so.
All right. We have a piece of film we would like to show you now. Bert Shipp is our chief photographer and assistant news director of WFAA television. This is, well, roll the film, Bert, and if you would narrate it, please, so they can move up there a little bit.
All right, Jay, this is that rifle that was shown minutes ago on the network. They dusted it for fingerprints from the, while it was still up in the building. And you'll see the detectives gathering and gathering their evidence. Tom Allier, one of our reporters and photographers, shot this film. He has just now managed to get out of the building because of the close security around it. You'll see stacks and stacks of books at this
get it up
this
there.
Big
get it up there.
many-story building, and they actually found some chicken bones in there. We'll see a picture of that in a minute. Now the film starts getting a little bad. Looks like Tom lost his loop. But this is the inside of the building where the sniper was. There's the detectives. They get it all downstairs now, trying to regroup after being stunned by this. There's one of the lights. The policeman that had some hard times. They're combing the building thoroughly. Dusting everything. Like I say, this is the first time we've even seen the film. The fella had a soft drink while he waited for the president to drive by.
No telling how long he was there, huh, Bert?
No, there isn't. He had lunch there. They know that. Chicken bones, soft drink bottle. And that's about it, Jay. I'm sorry I don't know any more about it, but like I say, our man's on his way in. We had about 8 or 10 photographers out around the city, and these boys.
I understand we have some more coming up here.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is...
That's shot from inside the building.
Yeah.
This film was thrown out one of the windows. The building is closed up. No one can come in or leave the building, and this was tossed out the window and developed in the last 10 or 15 minutes here and on the air. Also standing by, coming in the front door now here, we'll be on the air in just a moment, are some interviews with the people in Dallas and their reaction to this tragic thing that happened just a few minutes ago, or just a very short time ago. We have some videotape now that we'd like to roll for you that Bob and I will narrate. We are not exactly sure what it is. It just arrived. It's threaded up on the machine. So let's roll the tape and see what we have.
Okay, stand by.
This is Ed Hogan of Wfaa-Tv. We are at Parkland Hospital in Dallas, Texas, with the mobile cruiser of Wfaa-Tv. The picture on your screen now, the flag of Parkland Hospital at half-mast. The ambulances possibly bringing in injured here at their usual day's work at Parkland Hospital. Panning now around, you can see the grounds of the hospital. A moment ago, 30 or 40 gentlemen, probably of the press, boarded a bus just to the left of right where the camera is following right now, and boarded this special chartered bus. We imagine they are the press riders who were here for the parade and luncheon and all of the festivities that have suddenly turned into this terrible turmoil upon the death of our President Kennedy. The people standing here, lining the walks and the driveways of Parkland Hospital, are stunned, just as all of us are, beyond belief. That it's unbelievable that the President of the United States is dead.
Here's a shot of the outside of the hospital, and in just a few moments we will have some interviews of the people of Dallas. This word regarding Governor Connally: the governor's office said doctors have opened John Connally's chest and found several broken ribs and a bruised lung. They said the lung was collapsed by the bullet but had been reinflated. Doctors report no serious artery damage to the governor's heart. He'll be in the operating room till about 4:30 p.m. at Central Standard Time, and then will undergo surgery for his leg wound.
This is the limousine, of course, that the president was still riding in when he was shot. This is the celebrated bubble top limousine from the White House fleet. It's without the bubble top today because of the pleasant weather.
Directly in front of the president and Mrs. Kennedy are Governor and Mrs. Connally. Governor Connally still in critical condition at Parkland Hospital. He, too, of course, was shot at the same time that the president was shot fatally.
We'll have the latest report on that from his press secretary here in a few minutes, too.
The other open limousine immediately behind the president's car is the Secret Service follow car, so-called. It's filled with Secret Service men who follow the president wherever he goes.
This is one of the roads here coming out of Love Field. You can see the people even out at the outskirts of town lined there, and the tremendous crowd. In a few moments will be coming down Main Street. That is the freeway coming from Love Field toward downtown Dallas.
Love Field is about 7 miles from downtown Dallas and 7 miles from the point in which the president was assassinated.
This 7-mile route was lined almost solidly with well-wishers, the crowd thickening as it approached the downtown area of Dallas. The one thing that made this such a tragic contrast in Dallas today, this was one of the friendliest crowds the president has met anywhere along the country. There was a striking absence of some of the offensive placards that are often waved at a candidate or a president of the United States as he travels across the country.
Still on the outskirts of town.
Yes, this now coming up to
There's
the junction
Main
of
Street.
Main and Harwood, right? He's on Harwood Avenue now, approaching Main. And the big turn, of course, was at Main in front of the City Hall, all the way down Main Street to the end of the Main Street, which is the courthouse section of town. And on Houston Street to Elm, and on Elm Street was where he met his death.
This is one of the largest crowds that has ever assembled in downtown Dallas.
Now the
Here's a
excitement
shot.
grows.
Right, this is just seconds after the president was shot. There's an officer with his gun out.
People falling to the ground.
Right. I was right around the corner from that, and I ran over and looked over a little balcony and saw the president's car take off and the officer falling down. The people sprawl on the ground. You were in the cavalcade,
Yes,
right, Bob?
at this point I was riding in a wire service pool car as the pool representative of the television and radio networks, just 3 cars behind the president's limousine. The 3 shots rang out very loudly, very clearly, so loud that it was hardly anyone realized at the time that they were rifle shots or were gun shots. Almost everyone who heard them first thought they were an automobile backfiring.
That's Parkland Hospital well, you were there when they took him in there, weren't you?
We raced to the hospital. Actually, the motorcade paused for not more than 3 or 4 seconds, I don't think, after the shots were fired and after Mr. Kennedy slumped over on the back seat of the car. At this point, the Secret Service agent in charge, sitting in the front seat, gave the terse order over the radio that communicated with other Secret Service cars in the motorcade to speed immediately to the nearest hospital.
Were you there when the president's body arrived?
Our car was just behind the president's as we moved in toward the hospital. We all, of course, leaped out and ran over to the limousine as I arrived right at the side of the limousine. The president and first lady were, this is Senator Yarborough of Texas, who was at the hospital, grief-stricken. I talked with him briefly. He sat sobbing openly in a room inside the hospital. But as we first reached the hospital, the president's body was lying in the back seat of the car, cradled by Mrs. Kennedy. There was a minute or 2 before the stretcher was wheeled out to the side of the limousine, and the president was taken immediately into the emergency ward of the hospital.
And the news reached the ears of the people, and they were stunned.
Crowd's being moved back now. Very shortly you will see shots inside Parkland Hospital. An official announcement from the press secretary and also from a doctor in attendance.
It was almost an hour after the president was shot before the White House announced that he was dead. The president actually lived only about 15 minutes after arriving at the hospital. It took almost 10 minutes to get there. He died roughly 25 minutes after the bullet penetrated his head.
Right after the priest arrived.
This is a doctor at Parkland Hospital who was in attendance at the last moments of the president's life and making the official announcement that the president was dead.
The doctors told us at this time that from the moment they first examined Mr. Kennedy on his arrival at the hospital, they knew there was no hope of saving his life. The president blood was brought in to give the president transfusions during this period of some 15 minutes before he died.
Mrs. Kennedy did not become hysterical?
No, Mrs. Kennedy throughout this period, both when she went in with her mortally wounded husband and later as she came out walking quietly by the side of the heavy closed bronze casket, she shed no public tears. She simply walked along by the side of her husband.
And I think this display of emotion in Dallas, Texas, could very well stand for the display of emotions of everybody in the world, not only at that moment, but at this moment.
by this time a thorough search was going on in the city.
I grabbed a couple of eyewitnesses to it and brought them back to the studio, and all of the policemen who were around where the building where he was shot were running back toward the railroad tracks, back behind, trying to find out who it was. Complete bedlam there at the site.
Now the mortal remains of the president leaving Parkland Hospital. Mrs. Kennedy is in the hearse. All of the curtains drawn.
The body was taken directly to Dallas Love Airfield. There placed aboard Air Force One, the White House jet plane on which Mr. Kennedy had flown from Washington on this trip.
We have a sound on film interview now with one of the ambulance drivers. It lasts a minute or so let's run that now.
Aubrey, what brought you to Parkland Hospital in the first place?
We picked up a patient on North Houston there, an epileptic, and took him to Parkland. We was waiting for the patient to be signed in at the time everything took place here.
What happened?
Well, first of all, these two men come running in. One of them had a large, appeared to be a machine gun, and they was hollering for stretchers and cots and everything, and to me it appeared that there was some lunacy or something, and then immediately after that, the Vice President of the United States came in. He was very pale. Some Secret Service men was walking him in at the time.
And did the president come in?
Yes.
And then what did they do with the president?
They took him on back to one of the trundle rooms in the emergency room there. Before the president come in, the governor, they brought him in first.
What happened after this?
Well, then the president come in immediately behind him, and after he come in, his wife was behind him, and they took them both of them, back to the trundle room at Parkland there.
Can you give us any of the intimate details?
You mean after they brought him in?
Yes.
Well, of course, they run everyone out of the emergency room of the hospital completely on the first floor there, and they told a rider and I to stand by at the rear of our ambulance in case the president or someone had to be removed from the hospital to another hospital. And we stood by there until later on they come out and told us that we would have to help remove the remains into a casket.
Dennis, what happened to the hearse?
We were standing by there. One of the Secret Service men come up and told us that we would have to help putting the president into the casket and getting him to the airport. And at that time, right after he had told us that, well, Mr. O'Neill came up in our 64 Cadillac hearse, and we unloaded and took the casket into where the president was. And before we put the president in his casket, well, the president's wife took her wedding band. It looked to be like her wedding band off of her finger and put it on the president's and kissed his hand. And then he left, and we took him out and put him into the hearse. And one of the Secret Service men, well, about 2 or 3 of them got into the hearse and just drove off and left Mr. O'Neill and the rest of us just standing there.
Interview with the ambulance drivers, and now these next films you will see will be at the Texas School Book Depository, which is the place where the bullet was fired, a place just off Elm Street where the fatal shot was fired that killed the president. As you would imagine, these quarters became swarmed with investigators, Secret Service.
There's the window there.
The window right there where the fatal bullet was fired.
The fatal shots were apparently fired from a 5th floor window, and that is where the spent shells have been found. Interestingly, the murder weapon itself was found on the 6th floor, which indicated that the assassin ran upstairs in an effort to hide the weapon before leaving the building.
Were taken inside of the building. One of our cameramen was in there, and he couldn't get out, and this film was thrown out the window so that we could get it on the air. In fact, he got out a couple of 3 hours later. Of course, the police wouldn't let anyone in. There's a picture of the gun, the officer up on the 6th floor instead of the 5th where the shot was fired, as he told you.
The reporter's pool car in which I was riding was almost directly in front of this building as the shots were fired, and that's why to us they sounded so loud that no one thought seriously that they were gunshots.
I thought they were firecrackers.
The president at that stage was some, I would say 250 feet away from the window where the shots must have been fired. The assassin, of course, used a rifle with a telescopic sight.
And of course, had to be an expert marksman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And now all this excitement in here is when the suspect was apprehended and brought out of the theater and was put into a squad car, a little better exposure there, and taken downtown where he still is, right at this moment.
Oswald's home.
Downtown Dallas. Dallas Police Department now, Bob. Excuse me.
Yes. Oswald lives in Fort Worth. There has been no explanation yet of what he was doing in Dallas today, whether he came here specifically for whatever he had in mind.
Once again, that's Oswald. Yeah, but go down.
Was undergoing intensive interrogation, of course, from the moment he was picked up, and almost constantly.
Oswald still insists that he had nothing to do with the assassination. Just about an hour ago, he told reporters at the Dallas Police headquarters, "I don't know what this is all about. I didn't do anything."
There's the weapon there. Some of the films of the weapon that was found on the 6th floor.
This is an Argentine-made bolt-action rifle of World War II vintage. You can see the telescopic sight.
That's Homicide Captain Will Fritz examining the weapon. He's the man that I told you would have an announcement in about 37 minutes from now as to a later announcement on the disposition of the suspect Oswald, who has already been charged with the murder of the policeman.
Okay, let's get out of it. And a close-up picture of Oswald.
We have some eyewitness reports. ABC's Bill Lord interviewed some people. First, a Dallas policeman, an eyewitness to the shooting.
Jim Cheney. I understand that you were riding next to the president's car when the assassination took place. I was riding on the right rear fender. What happened? Well, we had proceeded west on Elm Street at approximately 15 to 20 miles an hour. When we heard the first shot, I thought it was a motorcycle backfiring. And I looked back over to my left, and also President Kennedy looked back over his left shoulder. Then when the second shot came, I looked back just in time to see the president struck in the face by the second bullet. He slung forward into Mr. Kennedy's lap, and when it was apparent to me that we were being fired upon, I went ahead of the president's car to inform Chief Curry that the president had been hit, and then he instructed us over there to take him to Parkland Hospital, and he had Parkland Hospital stand by. I went on up ahead of notify the officers that were leading the escort that he had been hit and was going to have to move out. You did not see the person who fired the shot? No, sir. It was back over my right shoulder.
What preventive measures had been taken to preclude such an incident?
I don't know what had done that part of town.
All right, fine. Thank you.
Let's go.
This patrolman was so close to the president that following the 3 shots, his uniform was spattered with blood. There were many witnesses to the assassination, many of them people who had come to town early in the day to find a place to watch the president and the First Lady, and I talked to one who saw it happen and took a picture.
And I took the picture. It so happened my picture, when I took it, was at the same instant that the president was hit. And that does show in my picture.
What does the picture look like?
It shows the president, he slumped, Jackie Kennedy was leaning towards him to see. I guess it all happened so suddenly. I don't think anyone realized, what had happened.
Did you realize what had happened when you heard the shots?
No, I didn't. There was, 3 or 4 real close together. And it was, must have been the first one that shot him, because that was the time I took the picture. And during that time, after I took the picture, and the shots were still being fired, I decided I'd better get on the ground.
Did people lie down on the ground?
I just know about myself and the ones right close to me. And, well, really, I just know about myself.
You did lie down?
I did. I was no more than 15 foot from the car and in line of fire, evidently.
Did Mrs. Kennedy scream on the first shot?
I don't know about the first shot, but she did scream. She says, "My God, he's been hit, or he's been shot."
And the president fell in Mrs. Kennedy's arms?
No, I think he just slumped into the seat. She jumped up over him, and during the time when she jumped up, of course, the car sped away real fast.
Now, the picture you took, I understand the FBI has it now.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you very much. In addition, there were some 8mm color motion pictures taken at the time, and these also are in the hands of the FBI and the Secret Service.
There is still some question tonight whether Mr. Kennedy was struck by 1 or 2 bullets. This is the gun that fired the shots. There have been conflicting reports on whether it's a German make or a gun that was manufactured in Argentina. You see the telescopic sight,
which gave him 4 power magnification.
But the doctors told us at the hospital this afternoon that it was impossible to say from the wounds whether Mr. Kennedy had been hit by only 1 bullet or by 2. Only an autopsy can determine this.
Police officials carefully dusted the gun, but the word was that there were either no prints on the gun or they would not care to comment on it.
I heard just a few moments ago, or in discussion a little earlier, that the president was hit twice, once in the chest and one in the back of the head. Now we're back out to Parkland Hospital, and I think you were out there, Mom.
This is back at the hospital, and this was perhaps the most poignant scene of the day.
That we had of the suspect in Oak Cliff was similar to the description we had and the man we were looking for as the assassin, but at that time we had not been able to connect the two in any way.
The only discrepancy was 2 inches in height, is that correct?
Approximately 2 inches in height was the only discrepancy in the description of the man who killed Officer Tippit and the man who shot the president.
What was the description of that man?
He was described as 5'6" to 5'8", slight build, brown hair, having on a jacket, white shirt, and dark trousers. Actually, the suspect is about 5'10", and had discarded the jacket, which we found in the Oak Cliff area near a funeral home in the 400 block of East Jefferson. And at the time we arrested the suspect, his pistol was again fully loaded, and we had a witness that said he saw the suspect stop long enough to reload his pistol after shooting the officer.
What did you find in the building? Where the president was?
In the building on the 6th floor, we found an area that near a window that had partially been blocked off by boxes of books, and also the 3 spent shells that had apparently been fired from a rifle. Also, we found the remnants of what could have been a meal eaten by the suspect of a chicken dinner. At that time, I left the building, and later I understand that in the same general vicinity, under some boxes, the rifle that was used was found. The man did not make any definite statement other than demanding to see a lawyer and demanding his right when we arrested him. He did not volunteer any information to us at all. The only way we found out what his name was to remove his billfold and check it ourselves. He wouldn't even tell us what his name was.
Do you believe that he is the same man who killed the police officer?
Having been in it from the very beginning as far as the officer's death is concerned. I am convinced that he is the man that killed the officer. Now, the tie-in on the rest of it will have to be established by somebody else as to whether the two situations are related. Other circumstances that are taking place in another part of the investigation other than what I've been connected with will have to be proved to tie the two together. Now, here we are.
And now for a late report from Fort Worth, Dallas. We go to station Wbap-Tv and newsman Charles Murphy.
Here now are late, unedited, unscreened films of the shooting scene in Dallas. This was a scene near the Stemmons Expressway.
Downtown City Hall.
This is in front of City Hall in downtown Dallas, a mile east of the shooting scene. Heavy crowds line the downtown streets to view the presidential party. As in all of the Texas stops, there were many teenagers attracted there by the First Lady and the President. This is Main Street in Dallas. Is this moving west? This is moving west toward the fatal moment. The motorcade is traveling at about 20 to 25 miles an hour, slowly westward down Main Street in the heart of Dallas. The time, about 12:20. During the noon hour, heavy crowds from downtown offices lining the route. That looks like the school depository building on the right. I'm not sure. This is the scene of confusion. Something has happened here. The cameraman running toward the scene to the presidential car ahead of him. We caught just a blurred glance of the old school depository building from which the sniper fired the shot. This is the reaction from the crowd. All is confusion at the scene. Here a woman shelters herself. Now racing toward the hospital. On Stemmons Freeway, past the trademark to the right where the president was to have spoken, where he was to have criticized the fanatical right. There, a picket. That is Parkland Hospital, 1.5 to 2 miles from the shooting scene. Parkland Hospital, where the president died, in Dallas. By the time these films were shot, of course, the presidential car was already at the hospital. This is Major General Clifton, the military aide of the president, press secretary going into the hospital. These pictures, this is General Clifton. This is the emergency room entrance of Parkland Hospital in Dallas. Later films, as they are developed and as they arrive here, will be shown. This is Charles Murphy reporting from Wbap-Tv, Fort Worth, Dallas.
I am told that our station in Fort Worth, Dallas has more late film, so for a report we go to station Wbap-Tv, Fort Worth, Dallas.
Hundreds of persons witnessed the shooting in Dallas just after the noon hour. We have films of eyewitness reports. Coming up is a statement by Charles Brand, who was on the sidewalk and saw the shooting.
Unfortunately, I was probably 15 to 20 feet away from the president when it happened.
Tell us exactly what you saw, sir.
He was coming down the street, and my 5-year-old boy and myself were by ourselves on the grass there on Commerce Street, and I asked Joe to wave to him, and Joe waved, and I waved, and the man...
That's all right, sir.
Go ahead, Charlie. As he was waving back, the shot rang out, and he slumped down in the seat, and his wife reached up, toward him, and as he was slumping down, and the second shot went off, and it just knocked him down from the seat. Two shots. Two shots.
Did you see the man who did this?
No, sir, I did not see the man who did it. All I did was look in the man's face when he was shot there and saw that expression on his face and grabbed himself and slide. And the second one, whenever it went, why, I'm positive it had hit him. I hope it didn't, but I'm positive that it hit him, and he went all the way down in the car. Then they speeded up, and I didn't know what was going on, so I just grabbed the boy and fell on him in the hopes that there wasn't a maniac around. I'm sorry. I can't help you more, but I won't forget it.
Yes. Polaroid picture taken by another witness, Mary Norman of Dallas, showing the president slumped over in the car.
Just as Mary started to take the picture and the president came right even with us, we looked at him and he was looking at a dog in the middle of the seat. 2 shots rang out and he grabbed his chest and a look of pain on his face and fell across toward Jackie, and she fell over on him and said, "My God, he's shot." And there was an interval, and then 3 or 4 more shots rang out. By that time, the motorcade had sped away.
What prompted you to take the picture at that particular instant, ma'am?
Well, that's the only chance I had. Mine is a Polaroid, and I can only take one every 10 seconds, and it was at that time whenever I took it.
Did you know he was shot?
No, I didn't. I must have snapped it immediately when he slumped, because in the picture, that's the way she's there, and he slumped over.
Did you see, were you a witness, did you see the person who fired the...
No, I didn't see any person fire the weapon.
You only heard it?
I only heard it, and I looked up and saw a man running up this hill.
Could you tell me, you had no idea?
No, I had no idea. I had nothing to go by. I mean, I don't think it dawned on me for an instant that the president had been shot. I mean, I knew, and yet it just didn't register.
Did you get a look at the set?
No, I had taken the picture and then the shots, and I decided it was time to fall on the ground.
You did fall on the ground.
Mary Norman was the woman who took the picture on the right. The other woman was a companion, Jean Hill. Late films have arrived in our newsroom from Dallas showing the scenes of horror and disbelief outside Parkland Hospital. Newsmen hurry to the emergency room. The president's wife arrives, stunned. This is Mrs. Kennedy, in the middle. At this point, no one knew whether the president was alive or dead. Mrs. Kennedy conferring with a Dallas policeman who had sped the president to the hospital. And into the emergency room goes Mrs. Kennedy. A corsage of roses lies inside the car in which President Kennedy was shot. A stunned Congressman Jim Wright of Fort Worth tells what he saw from a few cars back. The disbelief registered on every face. These films from outside the emergency room of Parkland Hospital in Dallas as the president is dying inside. Senator Ralph Yarborough, who saw the shooting, said he heard shots and then saw a Secret Service man pound his fist against a rear fender of the presidential car in anguish. 2 priests arrived to administer last rites. Their names are not yet known. The deed still is not registered with many outside the hospital. Horror begins to sink in.
We'll be back with more films from Dallas as soon as they arrive. Charles Murphy, Wbap-Tv, Fort Worth, Dallas.